Man, it's that old thing, perseverance, consistency, hard work. My goal is to put the same work into, my businesses, my family that I put into football. And I've been running with that mantra since I got married back in '97. That if I'm going to have a successful marriage, I got to, the same hard work and same consistency and discipline I had on the football field, I got to put in my marriage and with my kids and with my businesses and all that. So it teaches you a lot, man. How to deal with your fellow man and not look at his color, but look at what he can do for the overall good of what you're trying to accomplish. So sports to me in general is just an incredible deal when you talk about football specifically because of the closeness of guys. I just believe it's an amazing sport.
Of Talking Ball with the Czar. I'm Emory Hunt, the Czar of the Playbook, here on the campus of Texas Wesleyan University with head football coach Joe Prud'homme. Coach, appreciate you taking time.
Hey, thanks for being here. I appreciate it, Emory.
You are a legendary high school head coach. A lot of state titles, a lot of Coach of the Year awards, a ton of success here in Texas. How hard, or was it hard, leaving all of that success behind to take on this new program, or were you at the point where you felt like this was the right opportunity?
It was kind of a combination. I had mixed emotions when I left. We'd built something really special, and there was an expectation every year we would win amongst our kids. The way they practiced, the way they prepared. Summer, you just knew you were going to be there all summer. You didn't plan on anything until after the first week of December because you knew we were going to be at the state championship. And there was just a really strong football community, but not only that, a great school community. That's hard to get to. That takes a long time to get to. But once that culture was in place, it was really rolling. The flip side of that is when you didn't win a state championship, you felt like a failure. So between like '08 and 13, we went 7 times. Between '04 and 13, we went 10 times, won 7 of them, and the 3 times we didn't win it, those guys felt marked, they were the ones that let everybody down. So that championship or bust mentality can really wear you out emotionally. It can wear you out physically because you put so much into every season, and then it's there and you either did it and it's a relief, or you didn't do it and it's like complete failure. So that part of it was, that was okay to leave, that part of it. Because I felt like we had done so much and we had really accomplished about what we could there in high school. So when this challenge came along, and it's a challenge now, because when the guys hired me, he said, this will be the hardest job you've ever done in your career. And he vastly underestimated that. Because when I got here, there wasn't anything. We didn't have a pair of cleats. There was not a football. It had been gone for 76 years. Everybody left in 1941 when Pearl Harbor was bombed. Texas Wesleyan they tied for the conference championship on that Saturday. Pearl Harbor's bombed on Sunday. The captain stood up in front of everybody and said, hey, you know what? We've got to go defend our country. Vast majority of them left. So the program was suspended for that long. It was never completely abolished. It was suspended. That's a long suspension, by the way, 76 years. So they did the 76 years, did that, and then the new president came in, been here about 5 years. He had 3 goals he really wanted to do. One, he wanted to really build up the facility because it was in bad shape. Physically, the plant was in bad shape. Mm-hmm. The second thing is he wanted to get a faculty and an educational focus on the students. It'd be students first. The third thing was to get the athletic program really up to speed, really push it up. And so his plan was football. Football will be it's the rising tide that raises all boats, is the way he said it, which I thought was very eloquent. So we had to come up with a cash cow or a war chest to do this, right? Mm-hmm. So we had the Texas A&M, we had the law school. Texas A&M did not have a law school. I thought if you want a law school, you have plenty of property, you go build it, right?
Right.
But you have so many accreditations you got to follow, so many things you got to do. So in order for them to keep up with the Baylors, the University of Houston, University of Texas, even Texas Tech, they needed a law school. So they started in negotiations, and I think there were 7 counter-offers before we got it to where the president wanted it. So he gets it sold, gets the money, gets the big influx, starts renovating the campus. The campus has undergone renovations ever since I've been here. Then the mindset was changed amongst the faculty, and then he brought in football, and that's when he announced it. The athletic director calls me, because I was over at Nolan, said, hey, we're looking about bringing back football. And I was in my own little world. I was like, okay, that's great, perfect. And I didn't think anything about it, And he says, well, we want to rent your stadium for games. I said, well, come on over. I'll be absolutely open. He goes, well, we're going to meet January 22nd. Trustees are going to do it. And so I got to thinking, I was in a situation. I was like, well, I've done about as much as I can do here. We had just done a bunch of renovations over there. We put in about almost a $2 million press box, and really redid the city. It was beautiful, just gorgeous. And redid the turf, did everything. And I felt like that was kind of a nice parting gift, to have helped him get that. So I called him back 2 days later. I said, hey, Steve, what are you looking for in a head coach? He says, well, really, to be honest, I'm not sure. We pay this amount, so I'm either going to get a young guy on the way up, or I'm going to get an older guy who wants to retire. I said, well, I've been in private school my whole career, and that's probably about what I make now, a little bit more maybe. I said, I'd be interested in that job. He goes, you would? Well, good. Why don't you put in? So I did. I put together a resume, put together my application, did all that part. So we decided to meet 3 days later, and met, had lunch, gave him all my resume and everything. And then I called him 2 days later because I'd heard from him. I said, well, am I in or out? You want to go further, or do I just need to worry about something else? He says, no, I didn't realize you'd won 7. I thought you won 2. And I said, well, he said, so yeah, we need to talk. And so we sat down and visited, and that process went on for about 6 to 8 weeks. And the day I was named, it was, they did a press conference, and it was all secret and all that. And so I get up there, do it, and man, I'm glad I turned my ringer off on my phone because it started immediately. I had 42 text messages in 15 minutes.
Wow.
It got down on social media that fast. And I do social media now to recruit and a little bit, but I didn't do any of it then. And so it was all text. And apparently they'd put it on Facebook, and they had done, tweeted it and done all that kind of stuff, and Instagrammed it. And so all these people were, that I'd known for all these years were hitting me up and, either congratulating, wanting jobs, or whatever. I had close to like 80 resumes in 2 days of assistant coaches, guys that, everybody from, I'd only coached in YMCA ball to all the way to retired college coaches and everybody in between. I had all kinds of people. So that was a pretty overwhelming deal. And they handed me a stack of prospects because they had just put an open thing.
Right.
Texas Wesleyan, to their marketing department of all people, put together a open recruiting questionnaire, handed me a sheet of 600 people, kids, and young adults. Some guys that had been out for a while, over 600 names, and wanted me to contact all these people to see who wanted to come to school. I was charged with bringing a class of 75 redshirt. I was hired in March, late March, so the whole thing was, the recruiting piece, everybody's either signed or not,
Right.
for the most part. So I was to get a class of 75 for the next year, for the fall, and to kind of get it rolling, I got to bring in a defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator. It took me 5 weeks to get the DC in, 6 weeks to get in the OC. So I was by myself. I was right out in that team room where I showed you at a bar stool as they were doing the renovations. And all I had was a laptop. This was all nothing but just closet. There were shelves along this wall with just all the crap nobody wanted in here. And so I started going through the names. I was going through all those candidates and all those resumes, and it was crazy. It was truly crazy. I would start recruiting at 7 in the morning. I'd get done about 2 in the morning, and then get up and do it. And we did that for 3-4 months because we were trying to get our kids as many as we could in. And because the California kids, are 2 hours behind, so you were talking to all them late. So it was almost every night, except for Saturday nights. I'd give that to my wife, but Saturdays we were recruiting. but it would be laptop in my lap, phone here, and working both as fast as I could. And we ended up signing 114 for the fall class, which shattered their expectation of 75, which I thought was really good.
Right.
Of that group, we probably still have about 35 on, and that's pretty good, I think, considering, you know, how late we'd started, the kids that had shown up. So that was, man, that was nuts. But so that, the lure of building a program, you always think that the facility's already there. You think everything's already kind of set. And when I got here, there's nothing set. And so having to rebuild everything from nothing, some of it's good because there's nothing messed up. There's nothing I have to tear down and rebuild. But to build it from nothing it's pretty overwhelming, really. But it's rewarding too, because when you start to see the successes, and man, I've got a dynamite coaching staff. I've got an absolutely awesome coaching staff, and you know, they roll with the punches. They're very resourceful. You have to have a good sense of humor to work in this office, you know. But I got a good mix of guys that are some very experienced guys, some guys that are young and on the way up. But one thing they have in common is they're all very positive. They all work their butts off, and they all bring something to the table different, which I think is really cool because it's a lot of diversity on this staff. Not necessarily ethically, racially, or anything else, but just in their personalities and the way they operate and the way they think. And I think that maximizes what we're able to get in place because they bring different types of ideas, different approaches, different philosophies, you know, into it. And, you know, I've heard people, you know, liken different things, but to me, you know, you're a New Orleans guy. My wife's from Bogalusa, so for me it's gumbo.
Exactly.
So you got to have a lot of great things to make that, right? And there's got to be a lot of different things in that. But the one thing it does take is time. You can't rush it. You can try to, but it doesn't. Once you start taking shortcuts, it doesn't taste right. It's not good. So that was kind of the approach that we've taken, is that it is going to take some time. We have to bring in the guys that have the right mindset. We have to have our common focus, and our focus is not what that guy looks like when he gets here. It's what he looks like in 10 years. Because to me, that's really important. Because if I can help a young man become a great guy, a great husband, great father, great member of the community, and I have my focus on that in 10 years, all the little things he's got to do while he's here, that's going to build into something great at the end. So football becomes easy when you get up and go to class, when you do everything you're supposed to do, and get your study halls, when you are able to make those 6 a.m. workouts and you don't miss anything ever. Then, once you've accomplished that, football, you're going to make that extra point that wins the game. You're going to make the tackle that does it. You're going to make the block. You're going to do all those little things because you've invested way too much of yourself and into each other to let somebody else down. So by the time they get to that 10 years, and I always ask them that question, every recruit I ever talk to, where do you see yourself in 10 years? This generation has trouble thinking past 15 minutes.
Right.
Is that not true? You know,
5 minutes.
5 minutes, yeah. Then on to the next thing. So we're recruiting a different kid. He's got to think abstractly a little bit. And another thing that we put into place is a mentor program, and it's made up of guys in the community who I've got some alumni, but I got a lot of that are not alumni. But what they all have in common is most of them are ex-college football players. So it gives my guys somebody to talk to that's not a coach, not a professor, and not their parent. Somebody that wants to see them be successful, just to be successful. Has nothing to do with your little Johnny, you're mine, and you gotta make so many plays, or this or that. It's somebody that'll text you at the end of the day. Hey man, how was your calculus test? Hey, did you have a good day? Do you need a home cooked meal? Something of that nature. Just somebody to care for them. That's been incredibly successful so far, and we just started it. A lot of those guys played at TCU, and TCU's grown so much, they're not quite as favored over there as they were, so they find this is a good place to still give back, to still be a part, to help mentor. So that we're doing a lot of different things, to try to build something that sets us apart a little bit. So that was a long way of answering your question.
No, but you did a good job with it.
So anyway, that's kind of the direction we're headed.
What's interesting is that we talked a little bit beforehand how you guys have gotten better this year. Year one was year one, literally year one in 76 years. But just off of last year, I think you were 1-10. Then this year 2-8. But that 2-8 is not like normal 2-8s you see. Right. You could have easily been 6-4. So your team made significant improvements, playing a lot more close games, starting to find a way to win. Where you are in that building process now, and where do you still have to go?
You kind of said it right there. Is we got to figure out a way to win those 4 games that were really close. We got to be able to make those plays at the end. And we were in position to do it. One of the things that we did is I made a change at offensive coordinator after the first year. He just wasn't a good fit for the staff. The style of play wasn't good. It was a pro style. You know, if I had my druthers, I'd always love to play pro style and just bash you and knock you off the field, keep the ball for 30 minutes, you get it for 10 and win. That's not a reality in our conference. That's not a reality at this level until you have those horses up front. We don't have them, not yet. So the keys for us is we made a change in offense. We went very fast, went air raid, up tempo, and this area produces that. Louisiana produces that. Mississippi produces those players. Those are our 3 places that we recruit pretty heavily. We get a few out of Oklahoma, not many, but mainly Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. And making that change made us immediately better. We averaged, I think, 7 or 8 points a game first year. Terrible. This year in conference, we averaged over 30. Significant improvement. And we could have scored more. We got to get better in the red zone, but that's something that comes with a little bit of time, a little bit of age. The defense really played their tails off the first year. This year they played well again, but they gave up too many big plays with the secondary because there were some miscommunications and some changing of coverages and trying to, not completely understanding the defense. That comes with time. That comes with having the repetitions, being able to communicate, getting everything done that we needed to do. We got to get him on campus in the summer. We just have to. You need to play as much 7-on-7 in the summer and get them in really strong physical condition, build their necks like we talked about so we can get off the concussion thing, and just to get them to where they're in football ready shape. It's hard for anybody to do what needs to be done on their own. That's just hard. So that's a big focus of mine, is to get them here on the summer, let them continue to grow and get better. They all have got the right mindset now of what we're looking for, what it takes to win, the commonality of where we're going to go. That we are going to play fast. We changed our whole conditioning periods last year. We were regular, just workout the first year. This last year, and Coach Rosas and Coach Duckworth came up with a very fast, up-tempo workout. So we worked out fast, 50 seconds on every station. They were hauling rear end. They got in great physical condition. When we were in spring ball, it was nothing for us to rip off 120 plays in a practice. Nothing. Wow. And that was great. This past year, we got to where we could do that. We ran out of bodies because of our offensive linemen were a little bit, they were young and some of them couldn't handle it. And we had some attrition there. We feel like if we can get our offensive and defensive lines where they need to be, we can play with anybody. Our skills are really good. Secondary's we got to make some changes there. We got to get some guys to grow up a little bit. But once we get that, I feel like we can play with anybody. Because we played with Kansas Wesleyan first half, who ended up going to the Final Four. Our quarterback gets knocked out. Well, we were tied going into about a minute left in the half. Second-year program against a top 5 program. That's a pretty good start. Right. So then, we did that, go down to Kingsville. I think it was 14-7 at the half or something. And they ended up beating us bad, but, it was a situation to where we were playing up because the week before they played Texas A&M Commerce, who was a defending national and number 1 at the time. Took them to overtime. I should have beat them. So we're playing with a team that almost beat the number 1 team in Division II. Here we are competing in the year 2. So our kids will battle. Our kids will fight. We just have to get them on that. They have to understand what it takes to win in those tight situations. And that little bit is tradition. A little bit of that is having done it a number of times. You don't get to play one season, then next year, hey man, I know how to win now. It doesn't work like that. It takes some time. Those guys the leaders have to emerge. The older ones have to lead the way. Some of the younger ones have to lead the way. Those are the guys that there's kind of a natural selection process, very similar to the fittest will survive. They will become your leaders. We're still a little bit in that process, but we did have some guys that did emerge. As they emerge, we'll know who to count on in those times, who will know how to get it done. But that's where we are right now. That's kind of the status, the status of where we are. But for year 2, it's pretty good. So I think year 3 we'll make even bigger improvement. Because I've watched kids grow up. Freshman year, cocky, awkward, uncoordinated, right? Year 2, a little bit better. That jump is sophomore to junior year. And I think that we're going to see that in this program. That we were the uncoordinated, awkward, gangly freshman. The second year, we're a little better. We fight you. Now, we didn't know we were supposed to, fight you like that. But then that year 3, I think that's when we're going to say, you know what, we're good enough to win these games. We just have to execute. Once we get to, then that'll be where we are. And I think year 4 will be the big breakout year, because we got some guys that can run, and we got some athletes, and that's really important. You get into situations the first year, we didn't have that. Second year, we got some freshmen show up that could play, and that was a big difference in how we got better. Now those guys are gonna be a little older. Now we got some really good ones coming, so I wouldn't bet against us.
One of the questions I always ask is about philosophy, because you learn a lot about guys and their why and how you sort of see, once you find that out, you didn't see it play out on the field with their players. So what would you say is your coaching philosophy, or one piece of your philosophy you'd like to share? I
would say, number one, I like to have great coaches around me, assistant coaches. And I'm not a micromanager at all. What I will hire you, I will give you my expectations, which are, whatever the offense is. Well, if we're running now a very high up-tempo offense, I expect your kids to be, if you're the receivers, know exactly what your routes are, recognize coverages, being able to make the adjustments on the fly. If they don't block, they don't play. There's nothing I hate more than a receiver that won't block. I believe in very physical football. I believe in being in great condition. But I'd say number one is to be calm. You don't need all this extra hyped up energy that you waste. I do want you to play on edge. Don't get me wrong. There's a difference between being on edge and really playing that way, physically and under control, as opposed to reckless and you're just rah-rahing it up. Because that's wasted energy to me. And it distracts you from what you're trying to do, because you put so much on this play, you ain't got nothing left for the next play. Exactly. And that happened to a couple of my guys this year. They played at such a high, so hyped up. Third quarter, they were wore out. And so I just had to rein them back in. I believe in being completely prepared, but hiring people, holding them accountable, but giving them responsibility and the authority to do their jobs. And I always believe that we all got to go the exact same direction. And the athletes first. It's not us. The coaches aren't first. The players are first. And when we train them and we are there for them, and they know that we're there for them, and they know that we're interested in what they look like in 10 years, because that to me is the most important thing that I can do for anybody, is to give back that deal, that mindset. And the other thing that I do believe in more than anything else is I do have an ego. I have a strong ego, but you're not going to see it a lot. My ego is, if I teach you and you're my player, or our players, and I teach you good enough life lessons, you're going to teach them to your son and daughters, who are going to teach it to their sons and daughters. So I get to live forever through that. And that's the ego of it, but it's the reality of it. It's true. So you won't see me beat my chest. You won't see me, looking at all the rings and I don't ever wear them. I mean, I've worn them, some like would win a game or win a championship. I'd wear the ring from the year before. I just didn't, it's not me, but it is, if I make a big enough impression on you to change your life, and you're going to change your son's life or your daughter's life, and it moves on, then I get to live forever.
We still talk about Vince Lombardi, right?
There you go. Exactly. And the lessons he taught. The Tom Landrys of the world. The people that are in it for the people and the relationships. Because to me, the number one thing in coaching is relationships. You can X and know yourself to death. You can be the most prepared person in the world. That's great. What are your relationships like? What brings you to work every day? What brings you to class every day? It's those relationships, because you want to see those guys. And there's nothing more special, and you know this because you played. Nobody understands on the outside looking in. Right. It's only those of us on the inside looking out that really understand what it is and what it's like to be in a winner, to be in a loser, to fighting together, to crying together, to all of those cliches, however you want to string them together. But it's true that we are doing something that nobody else has any idea. We're up here when it's dead at night. We're up here dead in the morning. Nobody's around. They don't see that. All they see is what you do on Saturday. And to them, they want to judge you on it. And that's fine. We signed up for that. We get that. But you got to have men who have authority to do their jobs and can do it well. And they take pride in it. because they always tell me about their guys. That's when I know that coach is now, he's where he needs to be. Coach, my guys, we got 3.2 GPA. My guys, they graded out 80, 85, 90, whatever. And so, but I want them to feel that way. I don't want them thinking that I'm micromanaging over their shoulder. But I do have a very strong sense, and I do make sure I'm in on a lot of meetings. And I don't go to the same meetings every day because I don't coach a position. I used to coach quarterbacks for 25 years. So I have to make sure I don't go to the quarterback meetings too much because some of that, I'm an old school coach. So we start talking about some of this other stuff. I get a little bit switchy eyed. But so anyway, I go to all the meetings and I make sure they know and I have a strong sense of what we're doing. And I will make some changes on game plans if I feel like it can behoove us. Sometimes we get a little over caught up in X's and O's. We forget about those Jimmys and Joes, those cats that can go. I don't care if they got 6 in the box. I got 2 studs in the backfield. They can't tackle them. Right. What does it matter? And we ran into that this year. We had 2 great backs, and we had trouble getting them on the field together just because of the way we were packaging. So the last game, I walk in, and our offensive coordinator, Kyle Cox, brilliant guy. He's a genius. He's a young guy. He's 25, and I said we need to have some cross action zone with those 2 in the backfield together. Well, coach, we're not going to get a good look for that. I said, what was that supposed to mean? Well, the box is going to have 6. I said, I don't care. The first 2 can't tackle him anyway, so you're down to 4. And so we go last game. We're struggling a little bit. We're in the game. It's 14-7, I think, at the half. Playing Ottawa. Ottawa scored in the week before 70, the week before that 68, the week before that 56. They were just rolling, folks. And our defense was shutting them down. And our offense was struggling a little bit. We were doing okay, but we were struggling a bit. So at halftime, they're talking, and I always go to the offensive first. And I said, can we get in those 2 guys in the backfield and do the cross like we talked about? They did it. We ended up running for 160 out of each back.
Oh, wow.
So each back got over 160 yards. They ran them in the first half too, don't get me wrong. But when they went to the second half and got those jokers together, it was awesome. And so he said afterwards, he says, well, I guess I learned something. I said, well, I sure hope so. I hope so. And he says, sometimes it's just about the players. And I said, yeah. I said, that's a hard lesson for anybody to learn. I said, because he came from TCU.
Okay.
He worked under Meacham, worked under Cumbie, and knew, X's and O wise, he was one of the top GAs because the other 2 like to play golf. So he was there hanging out and having to do everything and did everything. So it was very ingrained into him what the box is supposed to look like. Only way you can run this and that. And there is a lot of truth to that. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But when you got 2 horses and they can go, they need to be on the field going. And sometimes they got that receiver. I don't care. That 5'8" corner's not going to stop our 6'3" guy. Well, the safety might get, well, he probably won't. So let's throw it over there. Let's go trips and 1 and throw it. Don't get too much thinking involved. Let the players be the players. And to me, that's something that is lost a lot right now in football. Is if you got a dude, feed him. If you got a guy on defense and he can just absolutely wreck shop, give the other 10 guys rules and turn his ass loose.
Exactly.
And then he can, once he's going, and he's going to make plays nobody else is going to make. And they don't know what he's going to do either. So it really screws the offense up. And when we played Ottawa this last year, they had one of those guys named Steele, and he was a stud. And I promise you he didn't have any rules on defense. He'd play outside, inside, he'd move anywhere he wanted. The other 10 did. And he was hard to handle. But we did a good job on him, but you get a guy like that, you got to turn him loose. You got a free safety. I mean, he's got responsibilities, but if he sees something, you got to let him make plays. And that's something I tell our coaching staff is, and it is part of my coach philosophy, is players got to make plays, but they got to be allowed to make the plays. Don't put a collar on them. Don't put handcuffs on them. Don't make them robots. That's the worst thing you can do for anybody in football. Because if they got it, they read it, they have a special sense, man, let them do it. And that's something that we got better with as we went along this year. That's something that I'm going to be pressing for even more the coming years. Because we got a couple guys coming that are really, really special talent. They're going to get a chance to show it.
The fact that you are able to be so successful at the high school level and most guys would be comfortable there and say, okay, I'm on this end of my career. I kind of like Cadillac into retirement. Got a good thing going. We're winning. and you took on a new challenge, you know, and that to me shows a lot of love for the game, because you gotta love it to be at this level and then to also start from the bottom.
Right.
So what is it about the game that you love most that keeps you so motivated?
You know, it's funny you asked that question. I had a guy ask me, is Jared Christopher, who did the documentary on us, and he said, Joe, I don't understand. And I said, well, what are you talking about? He goes, most guys your age in your situation, like you just described, man, they're moving on to the end and the sunset of their career, and you do this, and I said, yeah. And he goes, it's you either really love the game, or it's an incredible lack of judgment, and I'm not sure which it is. And I said, well, Jared, man, come on, man, that's wrong. And he said, no, I'm kidding. I said, and so that does bring you to what I love about the game is, I love the relationships. I love the competitiveness of it. I love the fact that if we do a good enough job as coaches preparing our guys and watching them go out and be successful, and to see their growth and their progress is what keeps me rolling more than anything else. It's definitely not the pay. It's definitely not the facilities. It's definitely not the stress, because there's a lot of stress involved in it. That's something I've got to get better at. But you know, I love what I see it do for people. I love what I see it do for men. I love to see what it does for their families. And so it's kind of a situation is I get so much more out of giving than I do getting. Because I can see it living on. And we talked about the ego and the moving on down the road and all that. And I do believe very strongly in that. But I think it's important that we leave this world a little bit better than when we found it. And there's so many people now that are consumers, you know, and I want to be the producer. I want to be the one that kind of helps give back and make it a little bit better. I had a really smart coach tell me recently, he says, you know, there's only two types of coaches. And I said, okay. There's transformational coaches and there's transactional coaches. He said, unfortunately in our business today, there's way too many transactional coaches that are willing to use kids and other coaches and whoever in their transaction to get what they want to be. And if I ever find myself in a situation that I even think I'm crossing into that territory, I'm out. I got to get out and go do something else. I want to be the one that helps these guys change their lives. You know, they're on this type of trajectory. They meet us, they get in our program, it changes a little bit, and then it goes to here at the end of it. I can live with that. That is what keeps me going. I don't know of another game that can teach that. I'm sure basketball can make an argument that they do. I don't see it because LeBron's already proven you only need one guy to win a championship. Now the kid at Mavericks is about to do the same thing. You don't get that in football. I don't care how great one player is. Zeke is one of the best players in the world. He can't win it by himself. He depends on what Zach does, Zach Martin. He depends on what Dak's going to do. They all are depend on what Beasley's going to catch the ball or not. You know what I'm saying? And so that it's the most interdependent sport, and it has the most opportunity to teach and the most opportunity to learn to depend on somebody else, to give, because you get so much more when you give than when you try to get. And it just comes back. And I have a lot of my guys have volunteered for the first time and gone and helped, you know, with either, we've done the Boys and Girls Club across the street. They've gone and worked, we packed out in Arizona. We worked in a food bank. They were so thrilled by that. And so many of my guys are first generation going to college students. I got like 60%. It's a high percent, maybe 70. It's a high percent. So they are in a brand new world anyway, trying to figure a lot of this stuff out. A lot of them have never volunteered before. They've always been the recipient of the volunteering. Now they're doing the volunteering. And they were just kind of taken aback and shocked by the way those kids would look at them or those people they're helping, and we're so thankful. And they've gone on already and done a lot of volunteering on their own. They've done, you know, they told me to do, you know, for the holidays, I'm getting texts about, show me pictures of places they volunteer and when they've gone back home. I think that's big. You know, I think that's what the game teaches. It's not what I teach, it's what the game teaches, that when we give, and we all gonna give to the same thing, we got a chance to be great. As soon as we got some of these guys starting to get and take, it's like pulling the card house down, and it just comes tumbling down. So that's what I love about the game. I love the fact that it's a place where you get to tell a man you love him, and it's not weird. You get the opportunity to really depend on somebody, fully depend on them, and it's not weird. It's expected. so that when you go out into the business world, you go out to do whatever your career is going to be, you already have skill sets that so many guys that you compete with for the jobs don't have. They just don't get it. But we get it because we went through that. And we sacrificed and we gave and we did those things. And there's a lot of days you wonder, why am I doing this? Because you get just worn down, you get tired. It gets to a point that you're like, I just don't know, man. I just don't know if I can do it. And then one guy comes in the office from a year ago, 2 years ago, and tells you the great things he's able to accomplish because he learned it here. Pops you back up. Set your sail, you start rolling again. So that's what I love about the game.
Coach, we remember a time when only maybe 4 or 5 schools were on television. But now everybody seems to be on TV or online, some sort of streaming device. I think that has in turn made the world smaller, country smaller. So you can't use that as the advantage. Now, oh, we play on TV. Well, I can watch wherever I play as well. So when you look at all of that, and considering that you guys are a new program, you're just fresh on the block, why would a student athlete choose Texas Wesleyan?
What I tell them all the time, and what I think is really important is, if you do it right, you do college once. And I think that you need to choose a place that you can set yourself up for a career. I think that's real important because, I read a statistic, funny enough today, it's like 1 out of every 5,200 kids get an opportunity to play pro ball. Out of that pro ball, the average is 3.5 years. They don't get their pension until 6. I think it's like 30% of them have a degree in the pros. Why would you put yourself in a situation where you're so short term, you can't care for your family, and somebody got to use your talents and use you up and kick you out the door? You need to go to a place where your career and you as a developing into a man is important. It's got to be important. That's what we do here. We're located in Dallas-Fort Worth. We're in Fort Worth. I like to call Fort Worth Dallas. So we're located in Fort Worth, Dallas, one of the strongest economies in the world. Not just the country, but in the world. The job market's very strong. I have a mentor program that I don't know if anybody else has one like that. I've talked to other people. Their mentor programs are more along the lines of the older players are teaching the younger players. That's good. That's solid. But I'm trying to set you up for long term. I want you to get out of here with a job. I want you to get out of here, not a job, I want you to get out of here with a career. Because a career, you get up in the morning wanting to go. Job, you're like, God dang, man, I gotta go to my job. Right. But a career is different. And we help for that here. We're smaller, smarter. We have 16 to 1 in the classroom. Every person that teaches you is a professor. There is no TAs, there's no teacher assistants, there's nobody grading your papers except for that professor. They care about you, they want you to be successful. That's a big deal. You get to play in a media market that's the 4th largest in the country. If you're really that good, they're gonna find you. Right. Jerry and them aren't stupid. They find players everywhere. So if you have that kind of talent, that really transformational talent, that's great. You get an opportunity to showcase it. We play in all new stuff. We're in a new program. So your equipment's gonna be new. That's sounds very flippant, but it's not. All your equipment's really in good shape. We're a program on the rise. So when I recruit you, I don't recruit you to come and be the 3rd guy. I don't recruit you to come in and be the depth guy. I'm recruiting you to come in and compete for a spot now. I'm not afraid to play a freshman. Played 5 on offense, started 5 on offense, 5 on defense, and several on special teams. Our special teams were in the top 5 in the country this year by a lot of freshmen. I think that's important. But you come into a place where coaches are going to do everything in their power to help you be successful. We got mentor program to help you be successful. We got 16 to 1. You're going to have mandatory study halls. You're going to be prepared for life after football. Let's face it, if you're not D1, you're probably having to invest some money in your college career, in your education. It's my job to make sure that's a good investment. It's my job to make sure that whatever you put into it, on the backside, you're going to reap big rewards. But you got to meet me halfway. You got to do your part. So that to me is really important, that you come here for a career in mind. Because if you're coming here just to play football, that's probably not a great place for you then. Right. Because then you're not going to do the other things you need to do. There's a lot of places that will accept you just staying eligible, just getting by, just to play football. This isn't one of those places. So I think it's real important that the family understands, the young man understands. We are going to push you, we're going to pull you, we're going to get on you, but we're going to love you too. but you're going to have to do your part. And once you do, there's great things on the outside for you. But we're not gonna bring you in here on a short-term deal. That's not our goal. If you decide it's not for you, that's fine. But for us, we recruit you with in mind 4 to 5 years you're out of here, and you're going to be giving back to this very institution, to this very football program, because you helped to build it, and you get a chance to build a legacy. I mean, I'm taking that when guys come in, when we talk, I want to know their traditions. I want to know the things they love about football. What did from their program was so special and so great that it just really drove them. And we've adopted some of those things. And so, once again, back to the gumbo. You add a lot of ingredients even to the traditional flavor of what you're doing now. I'm not a guy who says, this is my program, that's how we do it. That's it, forget it. I like input. I like some changes. I like it to be fresh. I like it to change a little bit. You still have your basic pillars. You build around those. But you also have opportunity to come in and put your mark on it, to put your stamp on it. So if Emory Hunt could come in and be the guy, he's going to get a chance to do that. So I think it's important for the players and the students to understand it's not a short-term deal for us. That's why Wesleyan.
Well, if I had eligibility, I'd play for you, Coach. You got me sold, man. I'm excited because I'm a college football junkie, and I like the fact that programs are bringing back football, and to see Texas Wesleyan jump in the fray in this hotbed of recruiting that you guys have in Texas. I mean, you coached in high school here, so you know, and the fact that this program can now, start to build, and who knows where it could be 10, 15 years from now. And the fact that you were able to bring it back and get it to where it needs to be, I'm excited for you in this program, and we wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.